Alright, man, we're gonna get started now. We've already gotten started, guys, but yes, we're editing this video. Today we're gonna explain chakra types. Kakashi was explaining to Naruto while he was learning Wind Style Rasen Shuriken that he needs to find his chakra type. And how well he matches up with Sasuke. Given that Sasuke has a Kekai Genkai, which is what is a Kekai Genkai? It's a natural jutsu. It's a jutsu with, I don't know if they really explain it that well though. Like Kekai Genkai, it's what the fuck is a Kekai Genkai? It's okay. Abilities passed down genetically within specific clans. It's possible for an agent to have more than one of these. Hmm. Anyways, what else? What else did he talk about in his video? But I have to make it last like 8 minutes. So it's like, yeah.
Hand corner, you have a button for media pool. When you click on this, it hides the media pool, and when I click on it again, it'll show the media pool. To import media, we can simply right click, and then there's the option to import media. Alternatively, and this is my preferred way of importing media, you could simply drag and drop the files from File Explorer. With File Explorer open, simply highlight all the files that you want to bring in, and then you can drag and drop it over into the media pool. When you drag it over, you'll get a prompt from DaVinci Resolve asking you if you want to change the project frame rate. This is a really helpful prompt. DaVinci Resolve will look at your video clips and it'll adjust the project frame rate to match your clips. Let's click on change. This has now imported all of my video and audio files into DaVinci Resolve. One of the things that you'll notice though is it didn't maintain the folder structure. It simply placed all of the files directly in this master folder. If instead I wanted to maintain the folder structure, instead of just dropping it all directly into the media pool, I'll go back to File Explorer and I can drag and drop all of the files into this column over here, and you'll see now that it maintains the folder structure. One of the great things about DaVinci Resolve is I have a lot of control over what the experience looks like. Right now my media pool is taking up quite a bit of space along with the folder structure. If I want to hide the folder structure on the left hand side, I can click on this icon up in the top left hand corner and that'll hide it. I could click on it again if I want to show it again. Now right now my media pool is taking up quite a bit of the screen, but I don't actually have that many files. If I click on this icon in the top left hand corner, that'll shrink the size of the media pool. I could expand it again, but once again, since I don't have that many files, I'll keep it in the smaller view so I have more space down below for my timeline. Along with being able to set the size of the media pool, I can also adjust how I visualize all of the files. With this slider over here, I can adjust how big or how small all of the thumbnails appear. I could also view it whatever your preference is. Also, over on the right hand side, I could also decide how I want to sort this list. Right now I'm satisfied sorting it by clip name, but you do have control over how you sort it. If I want to organize my files, when I right click here, I can also add all of our media. Let's focus over on the right hand side where we have these two media players. The one on the left hand side, this is for viewing our source content. So here, for example, if I click on a clip, it'll start playing it in the source viewer. Over on the right hand side, this is a viewer for the timeline. Once we start organizing our content down on the timeline, we'll be able to preview it up here in this viewer. We can use the source viewer to start editing and trimming our video. I want to go back to the media pool and I'll click on the first file here. I'll double click on it so it shows up within the source viewer. Here, I'll move the playhead to the beginning.
Let's do the voice recorder first. Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to explain chakra types in Naruto. Let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, that's pretty simple. As you can see here, Kakashi was explaining to Naruto while he was learning wind-style Rasen Shuriken so that he could help Shikamaru when they were fighting Kakuzu and Hida. Now, with the wind-style Rasen Shuriken, he was learning that because it was a very powerful jutsu. Now, Kakashi tells him his chakra type and he uses the chakra paper to figure out how to tell him his chakra type. And how did he do that? Here's how he does it. Kakashi brings a chakra paper and asks Naruto to release some chakra into his hand while holding the paper. The paper tears into half and thus finds out that Naruto has the wind chakra inside him. Pretty much. Pretty simple. Just like that. Moving on. This was to find out how well he matches up with Sasuke because Sasuke has a Kekai Genka, which means he has an affinity for two different elements, which is fire and lightning. Naruto only has an affinity for one element, which is the wind chakra. And the thing about that is, Naruto and Sasuke, they match up together very well because wind beats lightning and fire beats wind. And Sasuke has fire and lightning. But the wind beats the lightning and the fire beats the wind, so they're kind of like matched up very well, equally well matched. So yeah, perfect matchup. As you can see in the picture, that's the order of the elemental superiority in Naruto. Now let's break it down a step further. What is a Kekai Genkai? Well, a Kekai Genkai is a jutsu that's passed down through generations, and it's really a jutsu that's unique to the individual. There's many different examples of Kekai Genkais. Primarily it's a mixture of two different elements out of the major five: fire, wind, lightning, earth, and water. So any two mixtures of those five will give you Kekai Genkai. Primarily when you have an affinity for two different elements out of the major five, exactly. Which creates a unique jutsu that cannot be copied. So notice how Kakashi, when he was fighting Zabuza and Haku, he couldn't copy Haku's Kekai Genkai, which is ice. He couldn't copy it. There was no way for him to copy that Kekai Genkai. And then there is Kekai Tota, which is a combination of three different elements, which is what Onoki uses. He has a combination of three different elements, which is wind, earth, and fire. That's why the Tsuchikage Onoki is one of the strongest Kages on the planet. I would say when he was younger, he would probably be the strongest Kage. Tsunade is not stronger than him. Raikage is not stronger than him. The Mizukage is not stronger than him because the Mizukage has a Kekai Genkai. She has the particle style, right? Not particle, the lava style, which is a combination of two different elements. Now, this is something that you can find out very easily because it's very easy to find out, like how do you know what the elements are? How do you know the chakra types? How do you find out the chakra types? It's pretty simple, you know? You just use the chakra experiment, which is what Kakashi explained to Naruto in this picture. Now, with Naruto, there's just so many things that go into it. There's so many different elements. There's so many different fights. But primarily, Kakashi can only copy jutsus that are not passed down through a bloodline. Now, there is also another version of a Kekai Genkai, which is known as the Dojutsu, which is the ability to, when you have the ability to use two different elements through your eye, which is, Dojutsu. Such as the Byakugan and the Sharingan. Those two different abilities are visual prowesses. Now, which one's stronger? Which one's stronger? I think, hands down, the Sharingan is stronger than the Byakugan. In fact, in terms of powers, the Byakugan is arguably the weakest out of all of the Dojutsu. But in terms of visual ability, the Byakugan is the best one because the Byakugan gives you the ability to see through buildings, to see through objects, and it gives you the ability to have a 360-degree view out, like completely around you. You only have one blind spot, one tiny blind spot. The Byakugan just lacks the ability to upgrade. And then there is the mother of all, the Rinnegan. That's the strongest Dojutsu. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to say. The Rinnegan is the most revered and the most scariest and the most powerful of the three eyes. And, it has a really strange optical conformation because it consists of 6 concentric eye rises in a single pupil, which is pretty weird, with the conjunctiva entirely covered. And, the thing is, the owner of the Rinnegan is able to learn and potentially use all existing ninja techniques. It also allows for the summoning of the diabolic statue, the Gedo statue. That's the one that you use to seal all of the different tail beasts. But it really depends on the user and how well they can use each visual prowess. Because, for example, a Byakugan user can actually beat a Sharingan user if the Sharingan user is not good enough. Just let me give you guys another example. If someone has a rock and another person has a gun, if the person with the rock has so much more ability and is so much better with using the rock than the person with the gun, the person with the rock will actually kill the person with the gun before the person with the gun kills the person with the rock, because they're innately better at using their abilities to overcome the other person. Because the level and the skill set, if they're evenly matched, if the Sharingan and the Byakugan are evenly matched, then the Sharingan wins every time. But if the Byakugan user is much more skilled at using the Byakugan than the Sharingan user is at using the Sharingan, then the Byakugan user will actually beat the Sharingan user. The Byakugan is a very elegant technique. It gives the user near perfect vision and the ability to observe the chakra around them. So all of the chakra spots, like you can figure out if someone's dying. You can see a whole lot more than the average person. Now, the Sharingan versus the Byakugan is actually a very interesting comparison, because the Sharingan and the Byakugan have very similar powers and function within the franchise. This makes the comparison pretty difficult to make. It really depends on the uses of the techniques. There is another special dojutsu, the Rin Sharingan, which the mother of all ninja, Kaguya Osuki, she uses that dojutsu. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm out. Peace. Cool. You're good. Let's go. Wow. Hello guys, welcome back. This is the Phantom. Today we're going to be talking about anime. We're going to be talking about the Raikage, the fourth Raikage. He was the descendant, the next Raikage in line after the third Raikage, who groomed him for the... Alright then.
And if I press the spacebar key, that'll start playing it, and then if I press spacebar again, that'll pause it. I could also use the controls down here. I'm going to move the playhead to the beginning, and maybe I'll go a little forward, and I want to set the in point right here. Down in the bottom right hand corner of the source viewer, here. I'm going to move the playhead to the beginning, and this is for viewing our source content. So here, for example, if I click on a clip, it'll start playing it in the source viewer. Over on the right-hand side, this is a viewer for the timeline. Once we start organizing our content down on the timeline, we'll be able to preview it up here in this viewer. We can use the source viewer to start editing and trimming our video. I want to go back to the media pool, and I'll click on the first file here. I'll double click on it so it shows up within the source viewer. Here, I'll move the playhead to the beginning, and if I press the spacebar key, that'll start playing it, and then if I press spacebar again, that'll pause it. I could also use the controls down here. I'm going to move the playhead to the beginning, and maybe I'll go a little forward, and I want to set the in point right here. Down in the bottom right-hand corner of the source viewer, here I could set the mark in point. When I click on this, this will define when this video clip starts. I can then go ahead and play it, and when I want to mark the out points of this video clip, maybe right here, I can tap on this icon and that'll set the mark out point. Instead of clicking on these icons, because it's a little bit of work to move your mouse down over here to click on them, instead we could also rely on shortcut keys. Say for instance, right here before I open the oven, I really want this clip to start here. I can press the I key, I for in. Then I could play it, and here I reach into the oven, and you notice I don't have any oven mitts on, so my hands are probably burning. And here I pull it out, and maybe just a little before, as I kind of pull it out right there, I want that to be the out point. And so I press the mark the end point. Now that I've finished defining what the in point is and the out point is, to bring it onto my timeline, I can simply click on the video clip and I can drag it right down onto my timeline. You'll notice that it automatically creates a new video track and a new audio track for me. Alternatively, I can also go up to the video file within the media pool and I can drag it down from there, and that'll maintain.
Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to explain chakra types in Naruto. Let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, that's pretty simple. As you can see here, Kakashi was explaining to Naruto while he was learning wind style. Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to explain chakra types in Naruto. Let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, as you can see here, Kakashi was Rasen Shuriken so that he could help. Yes, play it.
The same in and out point that I defined in the source viewer. I now want to show you some additional ways.
You might want to, you're gonna want to see the whole thing like a little bit different. Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to explain chakra types in Naruto. Let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, that's pretty simple. As you can see here, in Naruto. Let's be in Naruto. Let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, that's pretty simple. As you can see here, Kakashi was explaining to Naruto while he was learning wind. think I'll take a break now, see what's up. It's actually pretty easy to use. It's fucking simple. In Naruto, let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, that's pretty simple. As you can see here, Kekai was explaining to Naruto while he was learning wind-style Rasen Shurikens. So that he could help Shikamaru when they were fighting Kakuzu and Hida. Now, with the Wind-Star Rasen with the Wind-Star Rasen Shuriken while fighting Kakuzu and Hida. Now, they were fighting Kakuzu and Hida. I'm actually really proud of this. I'm actually really proud of this work that I'm doing now. DaVinci Resolve is like the best fucking thing that you can use. It's amazing. It's really good stuff. Well, we're stuck making videos all day. Just gonna sit there and make videos all day. Oh, we're just gonna make videos all day today. All night. All night we're just gonna make videos. We can probably make a video at this time.
as the the leader of the team in kickboxing, all the drama. What has it been like for you?
I make more videos.
Why not? To sum it up, very stressful, extremely stressful. And I think it's been well publicised how New Zealand's dealt with COVID and we've done very well internally. But it hasn't made it easy for people like us who obviously work overseas and travel overseas a lot. In fact, we're still going through it now, Ariel. We're actually all stuck after this fight. Again. We have no way, our country borders are locked. So we after this fight, we're actually all stuck. We're trying not to focus on that because that's such a negative thing to think about. We want to get the fight out of the way, but that's the problem that we're going to have to tackle after the fight, and we're kind of compartmentalising it. But yeah, in one word, stressful.
So what does that even mean? So you have no return flight, you can't get in. There's no what does that even mean?
Yeah, well, it's crazy. It is. Well, it is crazy, but it means that our country borders are locked out for its own citizens. She cannot currently get it. What she has done is she announced that we New Zealand citizens can start coming back into the country. But she announced that day. She also announced that day, 4 months ago, and then retracted it. So it doesn't have the same weight. It doesn't have any weight anymore. So. And that date is mid-March.
You could do a docu-series on fucking Joe Rogan, by the way.
On a whim,
Talk shit about him.
It's where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do after this fight?
Like I said, I honestly, Ariel, we've made the UFC aware, and they're obviously being very helpful, and they're willing to come to the party to help us out with whatever our plans are. But we actually don't have any plans. We're literally going to get the fight out of the way. Then we're going to talk to UFC and travel and Hunter and all the people we need to talk to, and then figure out what we're going to do, whether we go and live in Vegas for the foreseeable future, or whether we try and maybe go to Australia, or we haven't planned that because we've been really just focused on this, wanting to get this done.
And just curious, last thing on this, because I know you say you don't want to be distracted by all of it, but it is very unfortunate, and I can't imagine how stressful when you do think about it. It is. Do you feel like you are like? I have heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. Others, the All Blacks and stuff, they make exceptions for them, right? Do you feel like you guys are being sort of, I don't want to say targeted, but treated unfair? Like you guys are world-renowned professional athletes that are fighting on the biggest stage possible. They can't make an exception for you guys?
Look, we feel like we've earned a certain place in the New Zealand sports scene.
Yeah.
But it's not been duly given to us by the powers that be. I think by the people that recognise that we're one of the leading sports products and sports teams in the country. But when it comes to the powers that be, and their view on combat sports, it's still a little bit behind the rest of the world, I feel.
By the way, Izzy was talking about the team moving. Is that still a possibility?
So, interesting enough, Ariel, if you remember just before when I mentioned that she announced the dates that we were going to open.
Yeah.
Well, what that essentially meant is we didn't need to move because we were able to move in and out of our country.
Right.
Then what actually happened, Omicron came along and she completely retracted those dates and took them away. So now we were stuck. We'd called off all our plans to move to America. We let everybody know that now we don't need to do that anymore. And then she retracted those dates. So then we were stuck again. And so now we seem to have got a date in March. But again, she retracts it on a whim whenever she wants to. So maybe the best thing for us to do was never have changed our plans. Maybe to move to America. But everything's easier with hindsight, right?
Sure. And you're referring to the Prime Minister of New Zealand when you say she, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I say her,
Yeah.
so it's just...
was there any part of you that didn't want to come or maybe thought about not coming on this trip because of the uncertainty of your travels back?
We would not have taken the fight if we didn't have an agreement from the UFC that we would be looked after if we get stuck.
Okay.
Because we actually agreed to the fight based on those dates that she said that we can get back into the country. Then she retracted the dates, and then I contacted the UFC. Like, under normal circumstances, we wouldn't take this fight because we wouldn't want 15 of our guys, of our team, stuck over in the States. But we came to a good agreement with the UFC that they would look after us, despite being stuck over here. So we took the fight.
Well, some good news this morning. Paradigm announced that Izzy has re-signed with the UFC. Are you happy with this news?
Yeah, I'm very happy. You know, like, I mean, I work very closely with Paradigm. Like,
yeah.
I'm one of the very few coaches that still has a lot to do with my boys in terms of the management. And I obviously have people like Ash, who you know, and I have Tim from Paradigm, who I work with really closely to help manage that side. But I still have a very active role in that. So I've been, you know, this has been something that's been in the works for a long time now. And to finally, kind of in the final kind of hour, to finally kind of get it done and have both parties happy with the deal is very pleasing for me, because I know the struggle that it took to get here, obviously. So I'm happy, very happy.
My understanding was prior to this, he had 2 fights left on the deal, and I'm just curious, with everything going on, Francis, I know, is a friend of his. Was there any talk about fighting it out and seeing where the chips fall?
I mean, with 2 fights ago, we had multiple options that we were looking at. And then obviously it all depended on whether both parties could come up with a satisfactory deal. So, I mean, our other options didn't really need to be explored. We felt that we got something in front of us that was worth us taking. And like I said, like Tim and Hunter and Dana and Mick and all the powers that be and myself and Ash, we did some good business this time around. Some very good business, I feel.
Okay, congratulations. Dare I ask how many fights is it for? Can I ask that, or is it?
That's a good question for Tim. You'll have to get.
Okay, all right. I thought you were at the table. I thought you know.
I'll deflect. But I'm gonna deflect that.
Fair enough. I had to try. So now let's get to the actual fight. You know, Izzy, obviously one of the most fascinating people in the sport because of how brutally honest he is. He's as authentic as it gets. He's unapologetically himself, and he has said recently about, you know, being bored in the Vettori fight, not feeling motivated and whatnot. Do you feel motivation from him? You know, the thing about lapping the division is like you're having to conquer the same challenges over and over again. He already conquered this challenge. Do you feel like he is motivated going into this fight?
Yeah, I think he's like very motivated for this fight. I mean, we've as coaches and a team, we've pushed a certain theme, and we've really, you know, one of the key words we've used is complacency. Well, like not being complacent, and we've also pushed that. We've pushed the truth about the matter, and the truth is that I think we managed to, you know, get Robert out of there early before he had shown his full potential. I think everybody in the team, including Israel, knew that he has more to show than that. And that's what's kind of motivated, that he knows that Robert's probably a better fighter than what he showed that night in Melbourne. And rematches are hard. Israel's been involved in a few rematches himself, and he knows that you always train twice as hard and you leave no stone unturned. He knows that's what Robert's done. So it's in turn forced us to pretty much have the toughest camp that I've actually seen Israel have in all these years.
Really?
Very pleased.
And for this one, could he train at the gym full time, or was it the at home stuff? Like, how restrictive were the measures in terms of not allowing him to be at the gym?
We were good. We were down to 100 people in the gym, which is fine. Like, that's obviously our professional team's only 30 or 40 guys, so the quality of our training was as high as it could be.
Okay. I saw on his YouTube channel, which is phenomenal, he did this interview, I believe it was with his brother who was conducting it, David, and he had said, like, hey, you know, essentially I'm paraphrasing, but like there's a lot of talk that Robert is so much better has improved so much since their first fight. He's on this winning streak and he's a new man. He doesn't necessarily buy into that. He's not really seeing that. Do you see that, or do you agree with Izzy that this is a lot of maybe media talk that, Robert has improved tremendously since the first fight?
I think there's a narrative that's being pushed. I think there is improvement, but maybe not the degree of improvement that the media is kind of pushing. And I think that's what Israel's alluding to. But we definitely see improvement. But we obviously have 3 more fights to add to his body of work. And in those 3 fights, there's also, it's highlighted some of the previous weaknesses we already knew about. But there's some new vulnerabilities that we've seen in those 3 fights that we weren't particularly noticing or aware of in the previous body of work. So, yeah, we see the improvements, but we see other vulnerabilities in that body of work as well. So it goes both ways.
When I spoke to Robert, he obviously alluded to the Jan Blachowicz fight, about that sort of being the blueprint. And I think it's I don't know if he's trying to work me or not when he says that, but I think it's an easier said than done thing. There were a lot of other elements that went into that fight. Do you expect, bottom line though, for him to try being the operative word, because again, easier said than done, wrestle, clinch, grapple, maybe not so much Robert's forte, if you will, or what we usually see out of him, but do you expect him to try and replicate some of the things that we saw in that Jan fight?
I actually think that's a bit of a red herring from their team. I actually don't think they're going to do that. I think they understand the athlete that they have in front of them, and they understand Robert's attributes, and they're not the same as Jan's. And to simply transpose one blueprint from one particular fighter to another is that's a terrible approach. And I think I have a lot of respect for the team. They're a very smart team. I don't expect them to do that. I think that's there to kind of throw us off, to be honest.
I remember talking to Izzy right before the Jan fight, and he told this great story, and we didn't really know it at the time, about when he won in Abu Dhabi and he's in the back of the bus. He defeats Paulo Costa. And he listens to everything that you said and respects it. Like, we're 205. Let's go for that belt. And he's like, all right. He didn't really expect it. But he's like, all right, we're going to do this. And again, sort of just paraphrasing the story, I'm curious, benefit of hindsight, do you regret this? Do you regret last year the move to 205? Do you wish that you hadn't done it?
No, absolutely not. That was an opportunity there that's an opportunity that presented itself, and the only thing I would regret now is, and Israel would regret too, is if we hadn't taken that opportunity. We would still be sitting here today thinking what could have been. At the end of the day, what benefit was there to not taking an undefeated record? Like, who cares about an undefeated record? Like, the biggest benefit now, in hindsight, is that Israel's a much better fighter because of that loss. And that sort of inevitably happens. That's a common theme in fighting. But, Israel was able to bounce back from that fight far better than what he had to if he had just won and carried on fighting Paulo Costa. It's essentially what gave him the motivation and the strength to the next level against the Paulo Costa and against the Marvin Vettori and now against the Robert. So nothing bad came out of that fight that in my opinion.
Could I ask, what do you wish you would have done differently as a team to...
The only thing I would have done differently in hindsight, which we felt as a team wasn't an option, I would have built Israel into a 205er, a proper 205er. But we made a calculated guess that we could beat Jan at our walking around middleweight weight. And we did that because we didn't want to put on muscle and then reduce Israel back down to middleweight, which we knew was always going to happen. And we also know the history of combat sports, the history of boxing, and people like Roy Jones Jr. who moved up and tried to come back down, and we know that that's always a drastic mistake in combat sports. So the only thing I would do different, and the only thing I've taken note for the future, is that if we went to 205, we'd build our body into a 205 fighter, as opposed to a middleweight taking on a 205er.
Is that something you would like to try to
That's
do
crazy.
one more time before it's all said and done? Like, is that in the back of your mind? We need to do this the right way the next time. Maybe not obviously next, but before his run is done, to go back up there one more time.
Like, look, we set a goal, and the goals don't just disappear because you fail at them. Like, how many instances in history has there been a goal and no one's reached it the first time?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's still in Israel's heart and mind that he wants to, chase that next great division up, and we'll take the lessons from the first attempt and we'll transpose them into the second attempt for sure.
Is heavyweight still a goal too?
If you ask Israel, he's going to say yes.
Yeah.
He's going to say yes. I haven't thought about it.
Okay, fair enough. You said he became a better fighter as a result of that fight. In what way?
Like people talk about that aura of invincibility. That exists for the opponents, but sometimes it exists for the fighter as well. Sometimes they need a very big reality check to understand that there are vulnerabilities.
Before we do that, one of the things with sound effects collections I've found over the years is that they are an ever-evolving and growing beast, because they don't always contain every perfect sound effects that you could ever want for any given moment in your project. So you occasionally require more than just one sound effects collection, but it hasn't been updated in a while, although it is free. But I also found that it was totally overkill for my need. The video theme of your project. You can easily create your own playlists and add music tracks to your favourites list too. Okay, so here we are in the I'll just jump over to the other page. And what I've just done, there's no audio at all, as you can hear. And all I want to do is enhance this particular clip's presence by adding some music and some sound effects. And we're going to add some music, and these are sort of different sound effects that I've just marked out. And I've put markers in to help us indicate where we're going to put those. So just a very simple timeline. Let's jump over to the Fairlight page, and let's open up the sound library. So this is after I've installed what we need to do is to the database that we're looking at library selected. But why a little drop down appears to the database that we're looking at for the sound library. So if I click this, a little drop down appears. We can see that I've already got the Fairlight sound library selected. Work of the sound library. What you have to do to see all of the different clips or sound effects in your sound library is to all show up. So now asterisk, 3 times, and then they will all show up. So now we can show everything. So this is now shows all of the different sounds that we have as part of that Fairlight sound library. And as you can see, there's quite a lot, which is great. So we have lots to pick from. Now, you can also see that there's a rating system here, so you can actually rate the different clips as well.
It's garbage.
Well, so that you can find your favourites much more quickly, and you get a very quick tool. You can also just search for something that you're looking for, click sound effects. So let's just listen to this one, and we just simply can double click it, this top area, we think, and under here you can add some music. And obviously the music isn't in the sound library, it's in our media pool, so I just need to open up my media pool. This is some music that I already have organised from audio, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to
So I've already downloaded the song, it's on the desktop. So if we want to bring it into the project, we have a couple ways of doing that. One is we could go up to the File menu, hit Import, Media, and then locate it on the desktop, this MP3 file right here. Another is that if you
Never mind, let's just keep going. Now, with the Winstar wrestling Shuriken, he was learning that because he was very powerful. Wrestling Shuriken, he was learning that because he was a very powerful jutsu. Now, Kakashi tells him his chakra type, and he uses his chakra type. Kakashi tells him his Kakashi tells Kakashi tells him his chakra. Kakashi tells him his chakra type, and he uses the chakra paper to figure out how to tell him his chakra type. And how did he do that? Here's how he does it. Kakashi brings a chakra paper and asks Naruto to release some chakra into his hand while holding the paper. The paper turns into off and thus finds out that Naruto has the winning chakra inside him. Pretty much. Pretty simple. Just like that. Moving on. Pretty much. Pretty simple. Just like that. Moving on. This was to find out how well he matches up with Sasuke, because
there's no such thing as invincibility in this world. And sometimes it's a key ingredient that you need to push yourself to another level. When you're already talking about aggregating really small percentages, sometimes you need like things like that, big events like that, to push some more gains out of you. And I think that's essentially what it did.
So it's been 8 months since his last fight, and historically he fights a lot more frequently, and I know a lot has happened, but it's not like if there was an injury, it was all this, other stuff I'm sure came into play. Has it been hard to get him to peak at the right time, to keep him motivated, to keep him, active despite the long layoff? Was it challenging at all?
Definitely. It's challenging. Like, the truth is, it's challenging. It's not the person who had, who came and asked me for $20 because he had no money for food and gas anymore, It's a person who's got unlimited resources and unlimited options. You don't have to be a trainee anymore. There's like great places you can be and you can afford to be. That's part of the challenge that me and him, we have to tackle that together, and the team have to tackle it together. So it's not 10 years ago, there's challenges for sure.
More to that point, like one of my favorite quotes, and people who watch this show are probably tired of me quoting it so much, but it's, the Marvin Hagler quote about, hard to wake up in the morning when you're sleeping in satin sheets. How concerned are you of that? He is a gigantic star now, right? I mean, there is no denying that, not only in New Zealand, but worldwide. And, of course, people have brought it up with Connor. And John Kavanagh himself has talked about it. And your relationship with Izzy reminds me a lot of John's relationship with Connor, just because you were there from the very beginning with him and you guys are so close and there's such a loyalty there. How concerned are you of this phenomenon?
I'm always concerned. But I tell you what, we've tackled this problem well. It's like Israel has turned up to every single fight in the UFC. He's turned up in the most phenomenal and best shape that we could possibly get in. So, we are dealing with this, but we're dealing with it appropriately. We're dealing with it in the right manner. We are at the moment suppressing it, but it's always a constant worry. And now we've got a new deal, and now everything jumps up to the next level of scrutiny and the next level of stardom. It's going to be a continuing problem, but like I said, I believe in our relationship. I believe in my team. I believe in our culture that we've set, and I believe that's what's keeping Israel where he is. It's the culture of my team, and that the fact that you can't be a superstar in my team. You are like everybody else. You can be a superstar outside of the four walls of the gym, but when you come into the gym, you're just a scumbag like the rest of us. You know what I mean?
Have you had to check him recently?
In our history, I haven't really had to check him all, but like 2 or 3 times in my entire, in our entire history. Like I said, the culture of the team, and also just Israel as a person, that takes care of a lot of it itself.
So on this card, you have 3 fighters, right? You have Carlos Alberg, Blood Diamond, and Izzy. Do you like when there are multiple, especially for, an Izzy card, because there's so much, as you said, scrutiny and pressure now. Do you like when multiple CKB fighters are on the card, or would you prefer when it's just him?
Oh, look, it's special.
moving on. This was to find out how well he matches up with Sasuke, because Sasuke has a Kekai Genka, which means 50 foot, which is fire. which is fire and lightning. Naruto only has an affinity for one element, which is the wind chakra. And the thing about that is, Naruto and Sasuke, they match up together very well because wind beats lightning and fire beats wind. And Sasuke has fire and lightning. Fire and wind, so they're very equally. Lightning, and the fire beats wind. And Sasuke has fire and lightning, but the wind beats the lightning and the fire beats the wind, so they're kind of like matched up very well, equally well matched. So yeah, perfect matchup. As you can see in the picture, that's the order of the elemental superiority. In Naruto. Now let's break it down a step further. What is a Kekai Genkai? Well, a Kekai Genkai is a jutsu that's passed down through generations, and it's really a jutsu that's unique to the individual. There's many different examples of Kekai Genkais. You know, primarily it's a mixture of two different elements out of the major five: fire, wind, lightning. with the conjunctiva entirely. And you know, the thing is, the owner of the Rinnegan is able to learn and potentially use all existing ninja techniques. Well, ninja, Kaguya Osuki, she uses that Dojutsu. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace. Dojutsu. When the Sharingan user is using the Sharingan, then the Byakugan user will actually beat the Sharingan user. Of old ninja, Kaguya Osuki, she uses that Dojutsu. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to like. Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to explain chakra types in Naruto. Let's begin with establishing your chakra type. How could you do that? Well, that's pretty simple. As you can see here, Kakashi was explaining to Naruto while he was learning wind-style Rasen Shurikens so that he could Shikamaru when they were fighting Kakuzu and Hida.